Hi, I'm Erin, and I'm here today with Katia Buben, who is an Akashic Records reader, and she also does some somatic therapy work, and she is an amazing facilitator with Machina, one of the DJs for Ecstatic Dance events here in Portugal. And I invited her here to talk about the Akashic Records and her experiences as a practitioner. They were recently in Latin America and Costa Rica and I think Peru and a few
And Argentina.
Yeah. And she was posting about some trainings that she was doing there, so I wanted to invite her in to talk about it. So, Katya, I was wondering if you could just start with sharing a little bit how you got into this whole spiritual world and these practices.
Of course. Hello, everyone. My name is Katia Buben. And for me, as for a lot of people, it started from the childhood, where I felt that I'm a little bit different from the rest of people, but I wasn't able to describe how I'm different. So I thought actually that something might be like wrong with me because I'm not following everyone's path. And from the childhood, I would be curious about like some rituals, some ceremonies, some things that would like catch my attention, some books. And I felt that this is actually what was so exciting for me, that I would spend like, hours, like, just reading. And I would remember actually my first tarot deck, where I would be so curious and I would just open it and I would like look at each card and I would like, what does it mean, And then it just went after like a little bit, like it went through, and then I just like forgot about it and I came to my like normal life. And I was always looking for some answers to the questions like why we're here, like what is really there for us. And this is actually how I came to spirituality, by trying so many different things, so many different practices, like until I really found what is working for me right now. So the first time actually when I got to know a little bit more about Akashic Records is actually when I did my first plant ceremony. And after that, I was talking to a shaman and he explained to me that actually Akashic Records can give you lots of answers. And Akashic Records can give you a lot more answers than the plant medicine, because it can explain it like in a better way, like, why you get this information from the plant medicine, like, what you should learn and what it is about. Because we are all, when we enter some ceremony, we all, I try to see it from our perspectives, and sometimes we don't really see what is really behind it. So he suggested me that I can use Akashic Records and he can help me to enter Akashic Records and just to see what are the lessons for me. So this was my first connection with Akashic Records. And then after some time he told me you would have a chance to read Akashic Records by yourself. And I heard about it, but I did not like pay so much attention to it because I felt like, okay, the time would come and it will happen with me. And then I just got curious about Akashic Records more and more, like after 1 or 2 years. And I had a beautiful story where I had a dream about a person who was already reading Akashic Records, and the person came to me in the dream and said to me like, I have something for you, come to me. And I was like, I don't know anything. Like I woke up, like I did not feel like so much connection with her, and I was like, what she's supposed to give me. And like in 2 days she created a post on Instagram where she would actually teach like new students how to read Akashic Records. So eventually I felt this was actually my first like connection with Akashic Records. And I totally agree with you that everyone reads Akashic Records in a completely different way. And some people, they read it according to a special structure where you read vibrations, where you really see like different rays and what is really connected actually with your soul. Some people read it from the field, so there are like different methods that you could learn. And at the same time, for me, Akashic Records, it's the place where you enter and you are being surrounded by all the guides, all the higher selves, like all the teachers, all the gurus that you have, and then you feel like immersive level of love. You feel like these are your best parents that will always take care of you, that will always support you, like no matter what you do. And the more you enter Akashic Records, like the more you really feel that, yes, I want to be there. I want to be more connected, like with my purpose. I want to be more connected with my soul, and I really know where I want to go.
I was just wondering if you could share just like some of the personal sort of journey and growth and what you've experienced as like a recipient of doing this.
Yeah, I would say that for me, like I started learning more about Akashic Records because Akashic Records at some point helped me a lot. Because there were some moments where that I did not see. I felt like I was stuck. I felt like I couldn't like move on, and I was trying to find the answers. Like I'm doing so many practices, but like nothing really helps me. What I should do. Like what should I do next? And I never wanted to give up. And at some point when I entered the session where I was like where someone was reading Akashic Records for me, and so the person shared like all the details with me, and I started really implementing it into my life. Like I've noticed how my life changed. For example, it was at the beginning of my journey when I actually came to Portugal, and since then, like I see like how I started really growing. I saw like how I started really like creating like the place for meditations, like how I started like creating actually my personal life. And before I wasn't able to do it because something was missing. So Akashic Records really gave me this feeling of okay, you know where to go. And when I started practicing more with myself and with other people around me and started giving actually Akashic readings to other people, I've noticed how my life changes, because when you start reading Akashic Records, you need to remember that you also become a vessel for other people. So your life changes so fast and like so drastically that sometimes you just want to stop and you're like, okay, stop. Like I just need to have like a little bit of pause, like because like I could feel that my body is changing, like I could feel like how different habits, like how my eating even habits would change. And I was getting to know like my body for the first time, because I did not know how it functioned anymore. So it's a beautiful journey where you really get to know yourself, like from the beginning, like who am I, how my body functions, like what can I do in my life. And what I like about Akashic Records is that like it is actually accessible to everyone. So everyone can access it. It's like we just need to connect like with our intuition. And the more we listen to intuition, the more chance we have actually to connect with Akashic Records.
And how do you advise people to connect with their intuition?
For me, intuition starts with the body and with the body language. And the more we allow our body to speak and to talk to us, like the more we are going to be connected to our intuition. We always have this subtle voice that says to us, you should turn left or you should turn right. But we sometimes just does not, like we don't hear it, or we're not so like attentive to this voice. So I just invite you at some point when you would be curious about Akashic Records, just to really listen to your subtle voice. And if your voice is telling to do a specific thing, just try to do it and just see what would happen. And for me, I started feeling like my life is it has so many different possibilities. And like it's like imagine that you are doing some kind of quest in your life where you don't know what is waiting for you, but you know that there is a subtle voice who's like a compass for you that tells you what to do, and you just follow it. And then you end up in a beautiful place, being fully surrounded by like amazing experiences and by amazing people.
Yeah, it's this is really beautiful, and it's one of the things I've also really learned and discovered is how differently intuition comes for different people. There's the different clairs, the different, whether somebody sees or hears or feels or just kind of spontaneously knows information. Then there's physical signals, and that can be different for people. People often talk about the gut, like this gut feeling, and I think for some people it really is quite literally viscerally in the gut, in the abdomen, in the stomach, or maybe the solar plexus in that region.
Do you want to share your experience about how you feel intuition in your body?
So there's a few ways. One is I've had really, really strong, clear intuitions where it's like this light comes out from my heart and projects it like the day before 9/11, for example. It was like, it's like a movie projector.
Wow.
And I see the visual of the movie being projected from this region of the heart chakra. That's one way that's very like pronounced and clear. And there's no, I mean, it's only happened a couple times in those really extreme circumstances where either like there was a big world event happening, or I was about to meet somebody really significant in my life. And so that's how it usually is like this light in the heart area. But oftentimes it's an audible and clairaudient, so it's like an audible voice that I most often get from the left side. But sometimes it could be, it's just like an omnipresent sort of either voice or just knowledge that comes. But there's so many different ways, but it often is a physical sensation accompanied with an audible voice, and occasionally a strong, clear visual thing, like even just what we've just experienced. Because I just did a Sunpoint session with Katia, and I had a couple very strong visuals. Like when I'm doing Sunpoint energy work, I get very strong visuals of things that are really, just beautiful.
That's beautiful,
So
and I'm actually super happy that you're sharing this right now, because I just wanted to share that for each of us, like, the intuition comes in such a different way, and we have like so many different ways how to read. And for example, in Akashic Records, when you enter, you don't have a specific way how you're going to read it, because for some people it comes like as a picture, as a vision, as a movie. Some people, they start like hearing some voices in their head. Like for some people it's just the sensations. So everything is so personal, and it is important to remember that if it does not come to you in a certain way, nothing is wrong with it.
How do you distinguish between what is an intuition and what is information or knowledge that is coming to you?
It's a very good question, because I think for every single facilitator or every single person who practices it, sometimes there are some moments when you come and you're like, I don't know what it is, if it's actually my projections, my fears, or if it's actually my real intuition. So usually I give it a little bit more time. So for example, if something comes to me and then I'm a little bit scared, and it can be connected to my intuition, or it can be just connected to my fear. And then I just give it a little bit of time to see whether it will pop up to me again, for example, like in several hours. And if it comes to me again, then this is like an intuition for me. Another thing what I also do is like, I try to look at it from the objective point, where like when I look at the person, I'm asking myself, for example, and my intuition or my fears are talking something about this person. I'm asking myself, do I feel it because I'm scared like with something about this person, or do I feel it because it really happens? So it really helps me to see like if this is really my intuition, or if there are just some things, like some fears that came to me, and I just need to be more careful with this person.
Yeah. So giving it time.
Yeah, totally.
There's a teacher that I have, studied and worked with for many years in my life, and he would sometimes describe it as just postpone. Like if you're unsure, you're uncertain what to do, just postpone until you feel more clear and solid about it. So that really resonates. Katia, could you describe, like, kind of define what Akashic Records are from your understanding and your experience?
Yeah, so I really like to use like simple words, so actually everyone can understand it. Imagine that you enter like a big library that is full of different books, like each book has different titles, like different covers, and then each book represents the soul of a human being or the soul of entity. So what really happens is, like, every time when you open this book, either this book is yours when you open your records, or this book is someone else. And that is the beautiful thing, because when you understand that every time when you act, every time when you breathe, every time when you do something in your life, the book is being constantly rewritten. So the beauty of it is, like, you always need to remember that everything that we do in our life has an influence on our life, and really, like, it has a direct influence on also other people around us. So imagine it as something that you can always open, something where you can always check different variations, different paths that you can do, and you can always decide which path you want to take.
Yeah. This is something, it's like not only our actions actually have an effect, but even our thoughts. I've really been learning sometimes the hard way how actually powerful our thoughts and intention and attention are. So what are some ways, like how do you I mean, I don't know that any of us have the answers, and this is one of the main things that I've learned doing all this. It's like, oh, this is all it's all so beyond my comprehension. I think of most humans' comprehension of what is happening. And I listen to people describe their experiences all the time, but like, how do you think this information is getting recorded or documented? And is it pre-recorded, or is it like the book already written, or are we co-authoring the book?
I have a feeling that it is being rewritten, but at the same time we also we have a direct influence on it. It's like it happens at the same time. Like there is the way, like there are some things that are already that have been written there, but there are also a lot of things that we can still we can still edit, we can still rewrite. So it's a beautiful thing because you can always know that you have a direct influence on your life fully, and every action that you make actually has an influence on what will happen with you in the future, or what happened with you in the past. Because in Akashic record there is no time, so it's kind of I know it might be hard to hear it that there is no time, but it's like the past is really connected with the future, also at the same time with the present. So like every action is connected.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have shared other videos on my YouTube channel about this phenomenon and the timelessness, and which I really started to learn, and it became more apparent when I was a teenager, because I had premonition dreams every night where I would see exactly what would happen the next day, and it's like,
wow, that's beautiful.
Wait, what is happening? Time is not real, but it is. It is in this dimension and on this planet. Time functions a certain way. Maybe on other planets it might function different ways, and then in the spirit realm and other dimensions, it is non-existent. And I've heard so many people describe it, as like literally like looking at a book. For some, it's like looking at a tablet. It's like watching a movie. It's like just really fascinating to me, the whole phenomenon. And I think some of the subjective, descriptions of it and how people experience of it just varies as to what makes sense for us. But even recently, I've been listening to a lot of pre-birth experiences of people, looking at how they planned their lives. Wow. And they had like the different screens of all the different scenarios, or like actual physical blueprints that they were looking at with their guides and spirit team. So it's again, I think it's just really fascinating and so far beyond our human comprehension. What are can you give some specific examples of either information that you've received for yourself or maybe clients? If there is something that you can share, just to give like a concrete example of like what might come through in a reading. Yeah,
of course. So sometimes you would expect, that when you enter the Akashic Records, everything is going to be like so detailed, to the point of the time, the date, etc. But a lot of times it does not happen in this way. If there are some numbers that are supposed to be shown for you, they will be shown to you. But usually this is the information that is important for you to know right now. For example, if I ask a question about my client, if for example a client, how the relationship for a client will actually, like if this is a good relationship for a client to know, and like if this person is supposed to stay with a partner for longer, no. And then I will see that, for example, in 1 year they are supposed to break up. Then the Akashic record will not show this information because it is important for this person to go through this lesson with this particular partner. So it's like, I would say, the more objective you are, the better, like the more information you receive. For example, like in the case of Akashic Records readers, you might notice that for us it's a lot easier to read it to someone else than to read it to us. Because when we read it to ourselves, what really happens is like sometimes we become subjective. We want to be attached to a certain person, to a certain situation. So the more we are attached, the less information we actually receiving from Akashic Records in terms of like this particular situation. So the more we are objective, the more information actually we receive. Because in the end, it's about like our experience on the earth. And if we think that a specific situation is so important, that we cannot live without it, then basically we don't fully live our whole experience.
Yeah, it puts expectations on it. And I'm just kind of laughing as you're talking about this, because I've had so many experiences of this where, I'll get information from a psychic medium or somebody, doing some kind of thing, and it's like, well, I see this really clearly, but then for me it's almost like, oh, okay, then it's already done, I don't have to do anything. Or for example, astrology. I had my first reading with Jyotish. It's Vedic astrology when I turned 18, and it was all these really good things, and around 40 it was like, okay, things are going to get really good after 40. And then I turned 40 5 years ago, and as I was leading up to that, it was like, well, things really aren't going very good. Is it just going to suddenly poof change and be good? And sometimes that happens. Sometimes things just shift. But then it's also like, well, I actually have to take some responsibility and take steps. Like, it's I think it's one thing to get information, and it can sound really good and great. But like you're saying, it's like, it's almost like some information might be withheld because, for whatever reason, either you have this expectation that it'll just magically happen and you don't have to do anything. And so the more they tell you, the less you do.
Yes, exactly.
So, yeah.
Or sometimes, like, for example, when you receive an information that is a little bit like shocking for you, then it can really it can really make you freeze for a moment, and like you don't know what to do. Then of course it's like the more emotional you are and the more like you take it like seriously, let's say, the less information you receive.
Yeah, exactly. So and I think you mentioned relationships as being a reason that somebody might want information. What are sort of the main reasons that people, from your experience, are seeking these insights?
What I feel is that sometimes we want to be certain what the future is going to bring us, but deeply inside we understand that the future has so many possibilities for us. And the beautiful thing about Akashic Records is like the Akashic Records will not make a decision for you. The Akashic Records will share with you more information, what is expected from you, for example, on path A or on path B, but you would be the one who will make a decision. And the beauty of it is like you are in charge of your life, like no one else. Why it happens with relationship? Because relationship is a big part of almost like every person's life. That's why we want to find a little bit of like more clarity, how safe is to be with this certain partner, how trustworthy this partner is, or how honest this partner is, or am I gonna have like a bright future with this partner? And when we really understand it, that it's not about the partner, it's actually about us, and it's about how we want to grow in this relationship, how we want to develop in this relationship.
Yeah. That is, I even last night I had a interaction with somebody recently where I was asking those same questions, like, is this person safe? Can I trust them? Are they telling the truth? Is there like some other total shadow side that I am completely oblivious to, because I've been known to ignore red flags and not trust my intuition, and it's gotten me in trouble. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Sometimes we need to hit the bottom just to understand where we are, right?
Completely, and I have hit some bottoms, and they have been, those things do allow us to learn and grow, hopefully, and to change the patterns.
Totally.
So speaking of patterns, you're also doing some somatic therapy. You were doing training to become a practitioner, or was this for your own personal benefit?
It wasn't for my own personal benefit, but this course that I did, this was like the best course that I've ever done in my life, because it really teaches you how to use simple tools and how to make it accessible for every single person around you.
And what course is it that you were taking?
So the course was about how to increase the awareness of energy and body. And the idea behind it is like every time when we connect the spiritual world, we need also to connect our body with the spiritual world. So this course was really showing to me how to solve things through the body, because the body is always like talking to us. And the tools that were given to us was about how to really like value and enjoy every single moment of our lives. Sometimes we're looking for a mission, or sometimes we're looking for a, like, what is my destiny? But actually our mission is to live through the human being body. You know, there is like, this is the main mission. If we fail with this mission, like other missions, they will not help so much, you know. So it's really about understanding that how to live every single moment of your life, and how to understand that your life is not ordinary at all, and you are the one who choose every single moment of your life.
Yeah, very much so. Doing the energy work, I've become so much more sensitive to my body and the signals, and not just the physical manifestations, but even what comes before the physical. You know, so attuning to and being sensitive and aware of how the energy is moving through your body. It's like if I start thinking really, some really negative thoughts, or I start getting really angry or resentful about somebody or some situation, I immediately start to feel the pattern of the energy shifting, and then some pain starts to sink in somewhere, and it's like, oh man, okay.
Yeah.
So I have to rewind and redirect, and just shift how I'm thinking about something. If you find yourself feeling stuck or in a negative spiral or emotion or something like that, what can you do to redirect?
So first of all, I want to share that, you know, all the thoughts that are around us, we can always imagine that these are plastic bags that, you know, flying around us. So we can always choose the thought. So we can always choose this plastic bag. And it's really important to remember that if the thoughts like are coming to our mind, does not mean that we really need to believe them, and like we need to really use them and like bring them to our life, because like the power of actually like our attention is super like beneficial. So this is the first thing that I want to share. And the second thing is about like one of this, like the most simple tool is actually your attention. So what I mean by that, like everyone's attention basically. So what I mean by that, a lot of times, you know, imagine that you are in the room and there is a person like so charismatic and like, you know, so full of like love, light, like enters the room, and your attention goes immediately to this person, and you're like, for a moment you pause your life because you're so curious about this person. You just look and you're like, how can he or she do it? Like they're so like they're shining. What I want to talk to you about the attention is that actually we always have attention, and it's important actually to bring constantly our attention to ourselves. I'm not here talking to be like super egoistic and just like, you know, to really take care of ourselves only, but like the only attention that you can work with is actually your attention. And if your attention is always on your body, imagine for example that there is like something hidden in your body, and there is this something is looking from your body, you know. So this is a kind of your attention. So if your attention is always on you, you are able to feel the space better. You're able to say what another person feels next to you. You're able to like to kind of change the focus of your life on you fully. So this is really what happens, you know, instead of like really bringing the attention on other person and on this charismatic person, I can bring this attention on me, and I can ask myself, okay, what will make me feel like joyful right now? What can make me feel like happy right now? And the moment we start working with this attention, we will start like getting more time, because like our attention will be always on us. So when our attention is on us, we don't spend like time on our thoughts. So we are not constantly like, in this kind of bubble, like of the same repetitive thoughts every day. So I really invite you to try this tool and just to see how it will work for you. And I would be very happy actually to receive feedback from you, like how this really tool like worked for everyone.
Yeah, and also it's something that we talked about when we were doing the Sun Point session too, about giving and receiving energy and love.
Yeah.
And so many of us are just, especially women, but a lot of people, not to generalize because this is kind of true for all of humanity. We're so not all, but most. We're so conditioned to like just give and give and give and give love, and to also give love to ourselves sometimes takes some practice and actually a conscious choice to do it and to nurture ourselves in that way. And so it's really beautiful what you were saying. And I feel like I was listening to somebody talk recently about how we can raise our vibration so that we're not drained by people around us, because so many of us are so sensitive and passive. It's like we just we go we walk around the city, we go into a crowded place and we just leave and feel exhausted. I just have to come home and like crash for a couple days and rest or meditate. But the higher like you raise your vibration, then anyone who might try to like bring you down, they're actually going to come up. So it's important I think to stay rested and, like you said, to have attention on yourself so that you aren't just being like sort of tossed around and lost in these situations that might be crowded, or somebody's very charismatic energy that we just get like and we kind of lose ourselves, whether it's in a personal relationship or any kind of dynamic where we just get it's almost like we kind of make ourselves smaller and build them up more. So it's a nice reminder just to stay balanced and to also be that source of light for other people as well.
I also want to share that sometimes as every human being we have so many tools, we have so many talents, and we have so many gifts. And it is so easy for us to apply these gifts and these tools on other people. And sometimes we really forget about ourselves. For example, like imagine that I'm a good masseuse and I can massage people and I feel how I can connect with this person, and I feel like, that my touch would really influence like people's like energy and also people's like mood. But then I forget about myself. But actually I can do the same massage and apply it on myself. So it's really important also to remember about yourself that you are the first person who really needs attention, like not other people, but really you're the first person.
Yeah, the whole, put your oxygen mask on first before helping others.
Yes.
Yeah. So you did this somatic practice for yourself and incorporating, I'm sure you've been noticing just the benefits of that in your day-to-day life. And then also when I saw that you were doing it, you were in Latin America with Machina doing, I mean, speaking of like a lot of energy.
For sure.
You're in crowds of hundreds of people. Machina himself is just like, if anybody's watching this who doesn't know, so Katia and Machina, they put on ecstatic dance events, and Machina is a DJ and music producer, and he is just like, he is a force of nature, that guy. He just like brings so much energy. And then you balance it out because you lead people through these guided meditations and help people get really centered and grounded in themselves so they can fully participate in these dance events. And I'm always, and I've been to a lot of events here in Portugal. They're really special here. I've been to a lot of events in the U.S. as well, but it's a very special community, and it feels like people have really gotten the ecstatic dance, thing down. And it feels on one hand like, how is this just when you're leading a meditation, is it just completely spontaneous, or do you have, because it feels so fluid and natural?
So I never record my meditations and I never prepare my meditations. But what really happens in my life is like I receive some situations in my life that I need to see, and when I see these situations, like, and I actually find the lessons that I need to take from the situation. So this is what really brings me to the guided meditation. And a lot of times it's like a combination of all the emotions, all the sensations, like all the feelings of people who are going to participate during the ecstatic dance. And it's beautiful because I always remind myself that even if I'm in a situation where it might be challenging for me, I know that this situation is not only beneficial for me but also for all the people around me. And every time when I'm doing the guided meditation, like there are some people who come to me after and who just share with me that this is exactly what they have been going through, and they were like looking for some answers, and right now they really see the answers. And the beauty of actually ecstatic dance, the ecstatic experience that we create for people is activation and integration. And these two pillars, they are so important. And Mushina is the one who's responsible for activation, and I'm the one who's responsible for integration. So we can move on in our life and we can really feel like how great it is to actually enjoy the ecstatic dance, to participate in the ecstatic dance, and how to really like get all these like small sensations, feelings, like lessons, and how to really integrate it in our like daily life.
You two just balance each other out, and it's so harmonious. It's like, you know, opposites but completely like the yin yang, or yeah, that kind of that kind of like balanced energy somehow. And I think it's you know, what you said is interesting, because there is I interviewed Henrique from Erisera Ecstatic Dance, and I mean, the thing that is so beautiful about the events is how much connection and oneness you feel, you know, through these exercises and the dance and just everything. And I think it's easy, like in those moments of just love and expansion and openness, to feel that oneness. But when we are going through something and we feel alone and isolated, we think we're the only ones going through it.
Yeah.
And what you said is just so spot on. It's like, oh, they're going through the same thing. People are going through things that they're not talking about.
Yeah.
It's just not part of our culture so much. I mean, I tend to like overshare and talk about a lot of things because I've done a lot of 12-step work, and I just started to really value just sharing the honest truth of where I am in that moment, because I'm suffering, you suffer, we all suffer, and that is one other way that we actually there is a connection and thread with all of us. And it's important, you know. It's like none of us want to live in this state of suffering all the time.
Sure.
But to acknowledge it, you know, sometimes helps us to overcome it and to move through it. And you know, so I think it creates a safe space. I think any place where you can have a safe space just to fully feel where you're at, and then, you know, express it or not. Somebody might be crying, you know, or somebody might be laughing, but we can come together in like a few hours and go through this whole range of just like clearing and moving and like just being together. It's so cool.
And I also want to remind, actually, you know, that we are all human beings, you know. So for me also, it was very important to really not to create the gap between artists, musicians, for example, people who guide meditations, and actually participants, because we all go through the same things. Maybe they're not so visible, but we are all going through our human experience, and sometimes we are enjoying our life like as much as we can. Sometimes we are really like down with all our emotions, and what we really like offer to people is like it's okay to be a human being, basically.
Completely, yeah, completely. And I think it's so easy to put people on a pedestal because they're the facilitator, they're the teacher. And even myself, I taught meditation in Los Angeles for many years. And I'm talking about all these beautiful things and the benefits of meditation and higher states of consciousness and enlightenment. And sometimes my students, you know, would ask like, oh, so when did you become enlightened? And I was just like,
yeah, definitely.
I mean, I hope to in this lifetime, but you know, we're all going through it, and we're all learning and growing together. And I think having gone through a lot in some ways makes us a better, you know, service provider.
For sure.
Because we're going through it and we're figuring it out, but we also know that there are tools that actually can help. And so it's helped me, and I'm, it's like the same thing. It's like raise your vibrations so that others can come up. And so it is a really beautiful service that you guys provide. And I love sometimes too. It's like this whole thing is not. It's not always so like zen and like quiet. Sometimes you're just like like jumping and screaming.
yes, totally. It's beautiful, like, when we are fully able to express all the emotions, It shouldn't be always about being super serious, or it shouldn't be always about really holding some emotions that are quite difficult for us to express. It's really about fully like letting go and remembering that, we are here to experience life, like any kind of emotions that happen in our life, they have a right to be in our life. So it's very beautiful.
Including bliss and happiness.
Yes.
Because it can be easy to think like, oh, I have to like, feel this
I
heavy
need to
thing.
be like this,
It's okay just to sometimes have joy. That's, I think.
Not even maybe sometimes, like,
all the time.
All the time,
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really, what we're here to experience, and it's a process of, for some of us, longer process of getting there, but it is, that is like the essence of life, but it's all encompassing. Anything else that you want to share that you're?
Yeah. I think what I really wanted to share is the spiritual world here is actually to bring more awareness to your life. So basically, it does not matter what you do. You can be a yoga teacher, or you can be like financial analyst. It does not really matter. But if you are aware of your life, if you are aware of your action, if you are aware of your work, people around you, then basically you are already like living this life. So just want to to actually share that there is no gap between like spiritual people and normal people. Like, we are all actually spiritual. So and if you want to start to be more aware, like, there are so many tools that are around you, and you can really try and choose different tools, and you can really see what would be beneficial for you.
100%. I love that. I've been in situations with like doctors or people. It's like, you have no idea. I have no idea who they are. They're just wearing a white coat, and I'll shake their hand, and I just feel all this like light. Like, whoa, who is this person? It's just. I was in Sintra doing a workshop with this Ukrainian guy, Dimitri, recently, who also I interviewed on my channel. But, we went to a local coffee shop, and there's just like the locals who are just sitting there. They're there every day having coffee, smoking, just hanging out. And like they're grounding that whole community, like it's everything. And recently, I forget who I was listening to, but he was talking about Edgar Cayce and like somebody going to Edgar Cayce asking, who, in case anyone doesn't know, he would receive a lot of information about people's lives and spiritual energies, and there were these wealthy sisters who were very distraught because their brother was, drinking a lot and kind of homeless and sleeping under bridges, and Edgar Cayce said, well, that was his contract, was to do this, to bring you more compassion.
Wow,
for him to to grow in compassion and love and understanding.
Wow,
because it's your brother.
Wow.
So we really don't know, and that we can't look at or judge anyone like where they are, because they could be playing a very important spiritual role for the rest of us, and they might be enlightened. We have no idea.
Totally. It's also about like this situation really reminds us that everything is relative. There is no like such things as this is good or this is bad. Like, everything is relative, and the more you really feel it, the more you understand it in your life, like the easier like your life is going to be. So you won't need to divide the things between good things and bad things.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. Well, this is great. Thanks for coming over.
Our spiritual hug.
So, Katia Buben, you're on Instagram. Do you have a website?
I'm on Instagram still, but I'm going to have a website very soon. Yeah.
So is Instagram the best way for people to find
totally,
you? And what's the channel?
So it's going to be Katia
Underscore
Buben.
Buben. And I'll put the link in the description to Katia's page. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It was like a beautiful interview, and like Erin, you're amazing.
Well, I feel so fortunate to be here and to, I've met you and everyone, and to be able to have these conversations. It's all I want to do is talk about this stuff. So,
that's a very good mission. That's a very good mission.
Yeah. All right. So thank you so much.
Thank you.